Welcome to a special episode of the Walk-Ons. Today we are going to be going over the first round of the NFL draft, giving a mock draft, talking about who we think is going to go where. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to be drafting based off of what I would do, not necessarily what the GM should do. I'm Zach Yearwood. You guys can introduce yourselves.
I and McDonald pause for emphasis. Our third person in this group is John Watson, right?
I'm John Watson. Yeah, I'm chilling. I'm going to be drafting based on what I think. Every team should go with.
Awesome. Let's get right into this. First overall pick, I feel like we should all have a consensus on this. This might be the only pick where we're all the same. It's the Cincinnati Bengals taking Joe Burrow. You guys.
There you go. I agree. Cool. He's the best. He's the best player in this draft right now.
I disagree with that statement, sir. I think Chase Young is the best player in this draft.
All right. Well, what do you think, Drew? First round pick, Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow, as Coach Joe once said, he's a ball player. He is a ball player for the LSU Tigers, and he will definitely be building a team around Cincinnati for years to come.
All right. So before we go to the second pick, what does Cincinnati do with Andy Dalton?
Trade him to the Patriots. There are not many teams that need a quarterback right now. And so you look at LA, who I think is going to sign Cam Newton, and that impacts my draft pick here. Mm-hmm. And who else is there really? Chicago traded for Foles. The Jags look to be set with Minshew. Who else needs a quarterback that you can think of?
I don't know. Going into the second pick, what do you guys think? The Redskins select
Chase Young, edge rusher from Ohio State.
I have the same pick, Chase Young, Ohio State.
I have a few guys of monsters, and Chase Young is a monster. So I look at my bed for tonight. Chase Young, not in my bed. He's a monster of the NFL. He'll definitely tear up with the Redskins. They're going to be a rough team, though, for years to come, but maybe he'll produce maybe 8 sacks at least next year.
See, you say they're going to be rough for the next few years, but I don't think so. I think their defense is pretty solid. Like they have one of the best corners in the league in Quentin Dunbar after 1 year. You can't really say he's one of the best, but he performed at one of the highest levels. And their defense is pretty solid. Just that offense has got to be a little bit better. And I like Chase Young picking up the D end, but their offense is going to need work, and that's where they're going to struggle for the next few years. So I agree with that.
All right. Third pick in the draft, the Detroit Lions select
Jeff Okudah.
I have the same pick, Jeffrey Okudah from Ohio State.
I also agree. The Lions lost. Was it Darius Slay, right? The Eagles. Yeah. So there's a big hole there for a secondary. So bring Jeff Okudah there. He's one of the best DBUs in this nation with Ohio State. So he's primed and prepped for a dominant season.
There you go. All right, fourth pick, the Giants select.
I have Andrew Thomas, offensive lineman from Georgia. So this is where it starts for me with what I would do. Mm-hmm. I don't know what Gettleman is thinking, the GM for the Giants. I don't know what's going through his head right now, but he seems to be committed to Daniel Jones, who I think is terrible. So if you want to develop Daniel Jones, you give him someone that will protect him, his blind side, in Andrew Thomas. He's been outstanding in the SEC for Georgia, and I think he's going to carry over a lot of his great pass blocking traits into the NFL.
Interesting. I have another offensive tackle in Jedrick Wills from Alabama. I just chose him based on ranking and how he performed and how he protected Tua and maybe Jalen Hurts over the years, but we'll see. What about you, Drew?
We have heard 2 SEC linemen, and it makes me sick. Here I am with an ACC lineman like a G in Mekhi Becton from Louisville. Where? Louisville. 6'7", 364. I'm reading this article with selling point, absolute unit size. That's direct quotes from The Ringer. So I'm going with Mekhi Becton on the Giants. He's literally a Giant, so it works.
Gettleman does love big players, so Mekhi Becton could be a fit for them.
Very interesting. We all have offensive tackles for the 4th pick at least.
That's crazy because almost every mock I've seen has Isaiah Simmons from Clemson, the linebacker, going there.
Yeah.
But anyway.
5th pick, Dolphins. Who are you going?
This guy, he had an injury towards the end of his towards the end of his final season, not his senior season. Tua Tagovailoa.
Oh my goodness, you did
quarterback, Alabama.
I didn't know that you were gonna pick Tua to go to the Dolphins.
From the beginning of last season, it was tank for Tua for the Dolphins, and they don't even need to trade up for him anymore, even though they don't have the first overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they've been after Tua since the beginning of the season. I personally think I'm an LSU fan. I'm an LSU homer, and I'm saying that Tua Tagovailoa is going to be a better pro than Joe Burrow. You can call me out on freezing cold. You can at me at freezing cold takes right now or like in a year from now if Joe Burrow ends up better, but I think Tua is going to be better.
All right, well, I put CeeDee Lamb because I think Josh Rosen still has a little bit more to give, and he needs a little bit of a, I think how tall CeeDee Lamb? 6'2". He's a pretty fast guy, so he'll have that in CeeDee Lamb. What about you, Drew?
So, John, I love puns. Every Rosen has a storm. So we need a new quarterback in Miami. We bring in Zach, please. It's official business. Justin Herbert from the Oregon Ducks. This man from the Pac-12. You bring him over to South Beach.
Dude,
and
that's a Josh Rosen 2.0 right there.
No, John Watson, it's not. This is a new breed, a new guy, and Justin Herbert. His selling point, like I see here, he has a big arm, a prototypical size. I don't know what it means, but it sounds pretty cool, so Herbert's the guy.
All right, 6th pick, the Chargers select.
For me, it's Mekhi Becton right here. I think the Chargers are going to take Cam Newton in free agency. It's been a day, and I just dropped my phone. Ignore that. It's been a day, and there's been no news on Cam. I'm surprised nobody's picked him up yet, but I think he goes to the Chargers. He balls out there with Keenan Allen, and they give him a big dude up front to protect him.
I think that a quarterback would be great for the Chargers, but I don't think it's going to be Cam Newton because he's he's an MVP, but whatever. So I have them selecting Tua Tagovailoa, a little quarterback in the draft. Be nice for the Chargers. A new look. Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, if he falls to the Chargers, that would be something crazy.
Would be. Andrew?
That's me. I actually agree with you, John Watson, with Tua Tagovailoa. I think that just like having him there, I guess you're keeping Tyrod Taylor for now as a quarterback, but they do draft two, I guess, to compete with Tyrod. We'll have a double T competition. Tyrod Taylor to Tagovailoa.
That'd be crazy. Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Go TT for the quarterback.
Yeah.
So let me get this straight. You both have – no, not you both. Just Drew. Drew, you have Justin Herbert going over Tua?
Yes.
Do you truly think Justin Herbert is better than Tua?
You see this, Zach, behind me? It's the bandwagon. I'm not on it. I'm beside it. I'm going my own routes. The road not
Tua is one of the best college quarterbacks. Maybe one of the only better ones I've seen is Trevor Lawrence.
But so is Chris Winkie and Troy Smith and Taj Boyd.
Well.
And Jamal Russell.
All right, we got next up Carolina Panthers, 7th pick. Who y'all taking?
Derek Brown, D tackle, Auburn. Big dude up inside. They've lost a lot of players over the years on their D line, and they need to reload there. They seem to be going with Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback, so I'm not going to give them Justin Herbert. They're good at wide receiver. in a loaded wide receiver class. So yeah, I'm going defense, D tackle. Matt Rule seems to love these big guys on the inside, or not? Yeah, Matt Rule. My bad.
Yep, I'm going with Derek Brown as well. Big guy.
So for me, my friend Jacob actually went to the combine last year for the UNF trip, whatever. And it was actually on dinner with friends at a Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Sees a big dude on stools next to him was Derek Brown. Imagine seeing a diner and seeing Derek Brown walk up to you. That guy's a mammoth. But that's besides the point, though. It's a fun anecdote for the show. Here we are, the back of our action. So the Panthers lost with Kuechly. They lost with Kuechly. So they need a new guy on the edge. Here comes Isaiah Simmons.
Oh.
Bring him to Charlotte. Explosive dude. Went to a school in the Atlantic Coast Conference. So bringing Isaiah Simmons, he will help with this Panthers defense and get him back to a 6-10 record.
That's not a bad pick.
Interesting. All right, next up, we got the Cardinals. Going with the 8th pick. What do you got?
Last year, the Cardinals drafted their guy, Kyler Murray, first overall. I think this year they draft somebody to help protect him, and I think that person is Jedrick Wills from Alabama. Big dude. There's not much more I can say about him because I haven't seen him play. But, so Jedrick Wills, I know, John, you took Jedrick Wills earlier in the draft.
Yeah.
This is where he's going for me.
All right. I have Isaiah Simmons from Clemson going here just because, I don't know, I feel like the Cardinals need a little bit of defensive help, and he's got that. What about you, Drew?
I agree with Zach on this one. Actually, I look at the Ringer for my kind of stats, and they gave Will's characteristic a glass eater mentality. That just sounds sick. A glass eater mentality. So you want that guy in the Cardinals? Please get him to protect Kyler. He's glass. That's insane.
All right. Next up, our hometown college team, the Jaguars.
Okay, this pick's going to be fun for me. I know too much about this pick and this team and this specific player. So for me, it's got to be Henry Ruggs the third. Ruggs, I don't know what you guys think about this, but Ruggs, I think, is the best receiver in this class, in a loaded wide receiver class at that. He ran a 4.27 at the combine, which is blazing speed. He can block down the field. There are videos of him where they were running a screenplay meant for him, and they go to someone else down the field, and he catches up to that person before any of the defenders do, and he beats them to the end zone. He is insane, and I think he'd be an amazing compliment for DJ Chark and the Jags' new signing and Tyler Eifert, and he would help Minshew out tremendously.
I also think that they should go wide receiver position, but I have a different one. I have Jerry Jeudy out of the same school.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs were a pretty good combination, but any one of those could definitely go to the Jaguars.
So I've been following to the Jaguars' recent projections. I'm going with Derek Brown for the Jaguars. I think that, although they've been kind of like selling the farm on defense, if you get Derek Brown, maybe create a little staple in that defense, just to get a new kind of wave in for the linemen. I don't know. I feel like that'd be a good spot for him to go with the Jaguars.
All right, next up, the Browns. Will the Browns be protecting their quarterback? Let's find out.
I think so. I had them taking Tristan Wirfs, tackle from Iowa. He's a big dude. Baker needs the help. He had a down year last year. He has one of the best receivers in the league in Odell, and then Jarvis Landry to help him out. He has David Njoku and now Austin Hooper as well. The only thing he really needs is an offensive line. And Tristan Wirfs comes in and makes a huge difference day one. So,
yeah, 320 pounds, Big Ten school. Man, this dude, he just looks huge. and he's from Iowa. So you know what they're eating in Iowa. I also have him going to the Browns.
I got Andrew Thomas out of Georgia, protecting Baker Mayfield and the Browns. Feeling pretty
Wow.
dangerous, guys. Feeling pretty dangerous today.
You have some very interesting picks.
Yeah, so we have Andrew Thomas, the Georgia boy. His comparison is of Russell Okung. So he's kind of been that kind of big dude with length and power. Yeah, I think that just the Browns, they had so much hype last year, so much hype going into the season, but they couldn't exceed that hype.
I blame Freddie Kitchens. I think Baker's a good quarterback, but I blame Kitchens for that.
All right, next up, New York Jets. Who are they picking at the 11th spot?
So I think they let Robbie Anderson walk.
Yep.
So they need to replace him and for me, that replacement comes in the form of CeeDee Lamb. He's still available for me at this point, and he's the second best receiver to me. So I don't know if you watched him at Oklahoma, but he was fantastic. Easily their best receiver, arguably the best receiver in this draft, but I got to give it to Ruggs there. But anyway, CeeDee Lamb helps replace Robbie Anderson. He's got some speed on the outside. He can block. He can do everything that you want a receiver to do. And I just think this is a no-brainer for them if he's available at this point.
I've got somebody, I probably won't be able to say this guy's name. If y'all want to help me out, just give
Is it an LSU linebacker?
It is an LSU edge rusher, yeah. So
Caleb Von Chison.
There you go. That's my pick. I mean, 250 pounds of, pure explosiveness. And I've never seen him play, but I can trust him.
He's pretty
good player. He's a good player.
So for the Jets, I go with a guy that name is Double J, Mr. Jerry Jeudy from Alabama.
Right,
so you get rid of Robbie Anderson, you get a new receiver in Jeudy. His characteristic, I read this, human joystick jukes. Again, you want that guy on your team, right? Sam Darnold throws a wobbly pass up the middle. Juke defenders go for touchdown, lose 30-3, 30-10. I don't know. I feel like just that having him as a receiver on the team would be some kind of offensive boost to it this year with a really tough division at AFC. Is it East or South?
It is the East. They're with the Patriots, Dolphins, and Bills.
Yikes. Yep, that's my pick.
I mean, that whole division's gotten worse now that the Patriots don't have Brady because if you think about it, the best team there is Buffalo now, which is a joke considering their quarterback. Their quarterback is a joke to me.
No.
All right.
He's a golden god.
All right. Next up, we got the Raiders at number 12. Who are you picking?
Give me 1 minute, sir. Isaiah Simmons goes here. So Simmons, he should not fall this far down. He had a monster combine. He was an absolute beast during the season for Clemson. And if he's available at 12, John Gruden's going to be a very happy man.
Yeah, interesting. Sorry, I was texting real stuff. But I've got Henry Ruggs going here. And, I mean, he just fell pretty far for me. I don't know why.
So I'm going receiver with this John Watson, and I'm going with a CeeDee Lamb, as Zach mentioned earlier for the Jaguars. I think that having him as a nice piece for Mariota / Carr could be good. Whoever gets that job, I don't know. They're both kind of scrubs. But I see this trait, though, of CeeDee Lamb. They call him a slim DeAndre Hopkins. So I think that having him on the team would be a good spot for the Raiders to compete for a solid
Interesting.
8-8, hopefully.
8-8. Well, it's a 17-game season, so
that doesn't start till next year.
I got you. All right. Next up, what does San Francisco do with their 13th overall pick?
They replace Emmanuel Sanders. I think that's the only possible thing they can do right now. It's the only they do need offensive linemen, but there's none at 13 that are good enough. Well, that haven't been taken on my draft board. that are good enough to warrant being this high in the draft, especially since they have the 31st overall pick as well. So I go Jerry Jeudy here, big physical receiver to go alongside the rest of their receiving core, Debo Samuel, Dante Pettis, etc. So yeah, Jeudy for me.
I could see the San Francisco going with the big guy, to protect what's his face, their quarterback, the ugly dude, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh, Jimmy Garoppolo.
I could see them going with Mekhi Becton, from where is this guy
Mekhi
Becton from Louisville. He's 369 pounds, 6'7". Look at this dude. He's big. And I'm going to tell you, they need a big guy.
So Johnny mentioned beef, and the Renars are going to beef up their defense with Javon Kinlaw from South Carolina. That's Zach's whole stop of ground. So what can you tell me about Javon Kinlaw, Zach?
Yep, he's an absolute beast, dude. I haven't seen him actually play in person, but I've watched his film from previous games, and this dude can disrupt the inside. He can rush the passer. He can stop the run. He can do everything you need him to, and he should be a top 15 pick. So that's a really good.
All right, guys, I kind of made a mistake on my draft board here. I accidentally swapped 2 picks there, and it's my bad. I had Javon Kinlaw going 13th. My 14th pick was
to the 49ers.
Mekhi Becton.
To the Bucks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for the Bucks, I have Mekhi Becton. So
you think Tom Brady needs protection?
A little bit. He's an old guy.
He's an old guy, and he has next to no offensive line right now. So yeah,
he's an old, slow guy who needs a little bit of help. So I'm gonna go with him.
That's a fair pick.
What about you?
For the Bucks, I have Grant Delpit. Delpit had an off year this year for LSU, but he missed a lot of tackles, especially in the playoffs. LSU still won somehow. Or not somehow. They were the best team easily. But anyway, Delpit, I just think best player available at this point. I still have Kinlaw up on the board, and that would help the Bucks a lot, but I don't think they necessarily need that right now, especially since they just put a lot of money into Ndamukong Suh again. So I'm going with secondary, just invest in it a little bit because you don't have much of it right now. So Delpit's my pick.
Drew McDonald.
I go with protection for Brady, like John did, but go with Tristan Wirfs. I've been falling down to 14 for the Bucks. I think that just having someone to protect Brady could be huge. I mean, the NFC South has some pretty good edge rushers. They have Dante Fowler now with the Falcons. Who else? The Panthers could have Isaiah Simmons this year. Who knows? The Saints have Bountygate, so that's there too. So.
He said the Saints have Bountygate.
Greg Williams, where you at, bro?
All right.
Goodness.
So there you go.
To do him like that.
That's your Bucks pick right there. Now we're going to the Broncos. Who y'all got?
Here is where Kinlaw goes for me.
Oh.
You have Von Miller and Bradley Chubb on the exterior of that defensive line. If you put Javon Kinlaw in there, that line is going to be unstoppable.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about that.
Good stuff. I have how tall is this dude? I need to know. 6'3", 192 pounds from the Louisiana State University, Justin Jefferson. He's great. Next.
He had an insane game against Oklahoma.
Yeah, he did. How many touchdowns? Like 4 or 5 or something like that?
He had 3 against Oklahoma.
All in the first half, too.
Yeah, you went ham. What about you, Drew? What do you got?
So I have Henry Ruggs III basically falling down to 15 for the Broncos.
Wow. That's surprising.
You have Drew Lock and they got rid of Joe Flacco, which makes sense, but I guess adding Ruggs would be good for the Broncos to get some offense going. I think that there's a really struggling team so far last year, so anything to help them move forward in their offense.
Yep. And next up, we got Drew's favorite team, the Falcons.
Yes, sir.
Jefferson had 4 touchdowns versus Oklahoma.
4 touchdowns, yeah. There you go. All right, what do you got going number 16?
Atlanta Falcons. I went secondary for them.
Mm.
I went Christian Fulton from good Lord, LSU. Wow, how did that slip my mind? Christian Fulton, I think he's the best corner in the draft, or besides Jeff Okuda, and he should go mid first, if not to the Cowboy, or if not to the Falcons, then probably to the Cowboys. But yeah, that's my pick.
Yeah, at 200 pounds, 6 feet, seems like the right size for a cornerback, and I think he'd be good for the Falcons.
Oh, you picked that as well?
I did.
Look at us. Who'd
Look
have
at
thought?
us. Who'd have thought? All right, Drew.
So the Falcons need a D end. That's a fact. We bring in AJ Epineza from Iowa.
Mhm.
The dude is 6'6", 280, 11.5 sacks this past year. So having him because I was gonna say that LSU Clavon guy, but we already got Fowler, so we don't really need him.
Mm-hmm. Next up, the halfway point in the draft is right now. Bang. Next up, we got the Cowboys.
They had a huge loss this offseason, and it was Byron Jones. Fantastic corner. Went to the Miami Dolphins. So I think they replace him. They take C.J. Henderson out of Florida. I really would like to see Henderson on the Jags just because I wouldn't like to see it. It's what I expect to happen the most. But the Jags, just because the Jags love Florida players. But anyway, back to the Cowboys. They need to replace Byron Jones. And while C.J. Henderson isn't going to do that completely, he will definitely help fill that gap.
I have the same pick. I think, he's going to do well. Somehow we've had two of the same picks in the
row
middle round, so we're doing well.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Drew?
Now you could.
And Drew froze.
He is
Again, one of the worst teams in the SEC. Can you guess who it was?
Say that one more time. You froze in the middle of that sentence.
Yeah.
So I saw the Gators play against one of the worst teams in the SEC football. Can you guys name the team?
Mizzou.
No.
Ole Miss.
No.
Mississippi State.
All right. Just say it.
I'm going to keep going. I'm going to get this.
Tennessee.
No.
Florida.
No.
You're going to say Georgia just because.
No. This team is actually awful. They're actually like bona fide terrible.
Is it South Carolina?
No.
Don't hurt me like this.
This team's very like very unknown, very like no press, very.
In the SEC?
Yes, very non-existent.
It's not Mizzou.
No.
And it's not Ole Miss.
Oh,
No.
Louisville.
Nope. That's
They're in the ACC.
Kentucky.
Nope.
Really? Not Kentucky either? What?
They're so bad.
East or West?
I don't even know, honestly. But they are better at baseball and basketball.
Okay, who the hell is it?
Kansas.
It's Vanderbilt.
Vandy. Okay, that makes sense.
So I saw them play Vandy, and they were terrible. But CJ looked pretty good, though. So we'll go with CJ.
Whoa. Oh, see,
Bad
you went with
Vandy.
CJ?
All that just to get to that point.
All that for CJ Henderson.
So did we all just agree on CJ Henderson for the Cowboys?
Yeah.
Cool.
Handshakes. All right, next up, the Dolphins.
I have Justin Jefferson here. His playoff performance speaks for itself. And I'm still filling out picks.
I have Jonathan Taylor, running back from Wisconsin. Had a big year a few years back. A lot of yards, but
My phone is blowing up.
he kind of fell off last year. But still, 18th pick in the draft, he's going to go to the Dolphins.
I'm taking the killer queen, Patrick Queen from LSU.
Okay.
So he's an undersized linebacker, but, he has incredible speed. So that can kind of maybe help with the Dolphins get some tackles in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Next up, the Raiders' second pick of the draft, or is it the third?
It's their second.
Second.
Here's where I took AJ Epinesa.
Huh?
They don't have much in the way of D-line as far as I remember. Well, when I was filling out this mock draft, so I just went with the next edge rusher on the board, honestly.
Interesting. I went with safety from Alabama, Xavier McKinney. I don't know why. Don't ask me.
The one thing I have to say about that is that they did draft a safety in the first round last year, also from Alabama. Abram, what's his first name?
Jonathan Abram?
Jonathan Abram, yeah.
Did he do well?
He got injured halfway through the season. He was doing really well, though.
So they get another safety. They go safety. I don't know. All right, what do you got, Drew?
I see the Raiders getting a CB and Jeff Gladney from TCU. Yeah, I've read about him. He's got a pretty good punch, kind of like a hybrid of Paul Malo and Darius Slay. So, again, building this Raiders team, it's been a circus. So hopefully they can kind of right the ship this year.
Yeah, good stuff. All right. The second Jaguars pick.
The second Jaguars pick, I went offensive tackle because I think Cam Robinson is not a good pass blocker. So I went with Josh Jones from Houston, big dude, physical, and I think he'd be, if not as good as Cam, if not better than Cam Robinson, then as good as Cam Robinson at left tackle.
I went with safety from LSU, Grant Delpit. He's a great player.
He is, if he doesn't miss his tackles.
We'll get better at that. Okay. Even what's his face on the Chargers? He used to miss a lot of tackles.
Derwin James?
Yeah, Derwin James. But now he's doing a lot better. Now he's a superstar. So what do you got?
I'm taking Clayvon Chason for the Jaguars. Again, getting this defense back in action, getting rebuilt. We can have Miles Jack take him under his wing. Pretty sick defense to have with Chason and Miles Jack, a little duo.
All right. Next up, we got the Eagles and 21.
So the Eagles filled out a big need with that trade of Darius Slade. They needed a corner desperately. The only other place that they really need someone is at wide receiver because Alshon Jeffrey right now ain't it. It's him, it's J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, and I can't even remember who else is on that receiving core.
Nelson Aguilar.
I think he got traded, yeah. Or did he? I don't know.
So I'm taking Laviska Shenault if I'm the Eagles here. I think he's been injured since the offseason, and everybody thinks that it's going to drop him down to maybe the second round. But I think the Eagles take the risk on this pick because if it does pay off, it will 100% be worth it.
I've got Patrick Queen from LSU. He's looking good. I'm reading about him right now. He does an excellent job of assisting defensive linemen with their correct shade and shift and also aligning other defenders. So there you go.
Is that your sources, John?
No, I will not.
I think the Eagles need an explosive receiver, so enter Justin Jefferson.
Good stuff. I like that pick. But I don't know if he's going to fall that much. Next up, the Vikings. The worst team I hate.
Wait, the Vikings? You mean the Bills?
22nd pick?
Yeah, the Vikings traded that to the Bills for Stephon Diggs.
Oh, snap.
Interesting. The Bills, I mean.
And because they have I was going to take a receiver with this pick, but because they got Stephon Diggs, I'm going to take Patrick Queen here, one of the better linebackers in this draft, and just solidifies that already good defense.
The Bills always seem to have big dudes, so I'm going to go with another big dude. And this wasn't my pick for the Vikings, but whatever. It's going to be Andrew Thomas from Georgia.
Oh, wow, he just went for you. That's crazy.
He's a big dude.
He is. He's a unit.
He's a refrigerator. But yeah, there you go. What about you,
Andrew
Drew?
McDonald?
Myself, so I'm taking a cornerback here in Jalen Johnson from Utah. So I'm a big Bills guy. I like the Bills. They're very underlooked. The quarterback gets no love. Josh Allen's one of the best guys I've seen as a big quarterback.
He's a good runner too.
Oh, yeah. He also does very good laterals, too.
Yeah.
But we're going back to DBs, and having Johnson help create this good defense for the Bills. I mean, they're already stingy, but adding Johnson will get more picks and better defending the receivers.
There you go. All right. Next up, 23rd pick, the Patriots.
I believe both of you already have Herbert taken, right?
Yes.
Not me.
Really?
Yeah, no
All
Herbert
right.
for me yet.
So Herbert falls to all the way to the Patriots, and Belichick finds his next Brady. It's going to take a minute for Herbert to develop, but if Belichick is there with him for 2 to 3 years, I think Herbert becomes an absolute stud. He's got some decision-making problems right now, but I think he's going to be a good quarterback in the future.
I think there's going to be a quarterback battle in New England. Justin Herbert and what's his face from Auburn? That guy. Jared Stidham. It'll be a nice quarterback battle to see it progress. And, Justin Herbert going to the Pats.
Taking a wild card here, guys. Mr. Jordan Love.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we're all going quarterback here.
Yes.
But it's just which quarterback?
Jordan Love from Utah State.
Wait, you already have Herbert taken, right? That's probably why.
Yeah,
okay, that makes sense. So not you taking Jordan Love over what's his name? From Mizzou. Jake Fromm. No, quarterback from Georgia, Jake Fromm.
No, I said, Fromm is very overrated.
We've
seen him this past year. So we see Jordan Love from Utah State.
You're also a Georgia Tech fan.
Yeah, whatever. That'll be your next show. Dude, he has shades of, and I quote, a YOLO Marcus Mariota.
Good stuff. I like that.
So.
Next up, the New Orleans Saints. What are you taking?
In this pick, take someone to complement Marshawn Lattimore.
Mm-hmm.
So I go with Trevon Diggs, cornerback from Alabama, physical dude, will be able to cover any team's second receiver from day one. And
I've got a linebacker from Oklahoma and Kenneth Murray. Yeah, there you go.
I did the same thing with John Watson here, but here are his stats. 102 tackles, 17 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. Enough said.
Love it. All right. Now we got the Vikings.
They're gonna replace Diggs here, I think. Jalen Reagor is my pick. If you have so the receivers I have available are T. Higgins, Jalen Reagor, Denzel Mims, and Michael Pittman, just for possible first-round receivers. And I'm taking Reagor out of that list just because I think he's the best available, and he also closely matches what Diggs brought you before.
Now, I got a guy who was born 2 days after I was born, in LaVisca Chenault Jr. from Colorado. I mean, he might be 2 years older than me, but it's all good. So I think we're blood, we're family, you know. About you, Drew?
Zach, you mentioned really good names in the draft this year. I raise you Yetur Gross Matos from Penn State edge rusher to the Vikings.
That's a good pick.
Yeah.
Good pick.
I think just having him as a Big Ten guy in the edge be good for the Vikings, you know. They have Anthony Barr, right? Anthony Barr, Everson Griffin. It's a pretty nasty defense already, so.
Yeah, there you go.
Actually, Everson Griffin left, so it's just Danielle Hunter. But there's Danielle Hunter.
All right. And the last Dolphins pick in the first round. What are you taking?
I really wanted to go offensive tackle here just because you need someone to protect Tua, but there's nobody really available. So I switched to the defense and went safety with Xavier McKinney, a pick that John Watson had picked before. And I think you just solidify that defense as much as you can. Brian Flores, their coach, is a defensive-minded guy. He was a defensive coordinator before he took the Dolphins job. And I think you just try to get that defense as good as possible for next season.
I've got 5-star recruit out of high school, 280 pounds, 6'6", H.A. Epinesa out of Iowa. Another dude eating corn, getting all fed up in there, Iowa. He's going to crush it.
Getting all fed up in there. Okay.
What do you
All
got?
right. I'm going the same thing as Zach with just the Xavier McKinney bolstering that defense. I can see him as kind of like a Rashad Jones kind of player.
All right,
I
good
agree.
stuff. Now we got the first Seahawks pick of the first round after 3 Dolphins picks. What do you got?
So the Seahawks struggled all season trying to get to the quarterback. So I think they draft a defensive lineman, specifically one that can rush the quarterback. And for me, that person is Julian Okwara from Notre Dame. He's one of the best players available right now. He's really good. He's been really good all season off the edge, but then again, he has been playing against no one because he goes to Notre Dame. But I think his skills will translate into the NFL pretty well.
Now, I don't know why I'm drafting on location here sometimes, but I've got fast dude. He's from Wisconsin. It's cold up there. You gotta get through the cold. Zach Bond is going to give you that cold rush.
I think John created the best slogan for Zach Bond, Cold Rush. I dig that so much.
Cold rush. There you go.
So I'm going to follow suit here and go with Cold Rush Zach Bond out of Wisconsin. Guy had 12.5 sacks last year, 19.5 tackles for loss. Add the Cold Rush to the Seahawks, please.
If Zach Bond gets 10 sacks this year, I will buy his jersey. You can quote me on that.
We will make a Cold Rush shirt.
I will make a Cold Rush shirt. All right, next up we got the Ravens. How do they do better? How do they improve their team?
If you haven't noticed, they've been improving their team all offseason, and the only 2 places they could really get better right now are linebacker and wide receiver. Hollywood Brown, not AJ Brown. AJ Brown is a big dude for Tennessee. Hollywood Brown, he was good, but I don't know if he's one receiver quite yet. So if you don't go there, which I'm not going there, but I take Julian Okwara out of – wait, no, I already said Julian Okwara. Never mind. Kenneth Murray. You take Kenneth Murray from – what school? Does anybody know what school? Oklahoma. Thank you. You take Kenneth Murray from Oklahoma, thanks to Drew McDonald.
Yep.
That's really one of their only weak spots on their team. If not there, it's wide receiver. They do need to replace that guard position because Marshall Yonder retired. But other than that, there's not much more they can do, and I think they're going to win the Super Bowl next season.
Wow. All right. I've got a short guy out of Georgia, DeAndre Swift, running back. I don't know. Next. I'm just
Great explanation, John.
Just going through picks here.
Yeah, I feel that. I don't know anything about most of these players.
I know, right?
So as John took D Swizzle, I'm going to turn the page here. I'm not a Ravens fan. I've been vocal about this with Zach and John Watson and Bruce Hope. Sorry, Bruce Hope, if you're on this. It's purely my opinion on this. We enter a receiver here from the Big 12 that's not probably in Zach's radar. This is Denzel Mims.
He is on my radar, sir.
So he is. I'm corrected. Either way, Denzel Mims out of Baylor. He had 12 scores, 19 receptions, over 20 yards. I need to help Lamar Jackson, okay? I don't see him as the amazing passer that people claim him to be. He had a big target, Mark Andrews, last year. But with Denzel Mims, he'll hopefully bail out Lamar Jackson this season.
Hold on. So here's the thing with you. You are just straight up disrespecting Lamar, sir. Lamar isn't – you're right, he's not the best passer, but he will definitely get the job done. You cannot deny that. He almost won a Super Bowl because he's so good.
Next game, Watson, please. I'm gonna die here. Please,
when the Ravens win a Super Bowl, I'll come back to you next year when you're off.
Please, John. Please, John.
All right, next up we got the Titans going for the 29th pick.
Would you gentlemen like to go first? Because I don't have a pick for this team.
I have. Let me just get some stats up here. We have old dude, redshirt senior, out of Oklahoma, Neville Gallimore. You know, he's a big dude. I like big dudes. So I think this big dude's going to be a big dude on a big dude team. Tennessee.
So the Titans, they're basically one of the biggest sleeping giants in the AFC, I think. And adding gets, we're going to add to the secondary here with Christian Fulton from LSU, cornerback. Having him complement Malcolm Butler, Kevin Byard, definitely going to be good secondary for the Titans.
Cool.
That's interesting. So for the Titans, I think their biggest need right now is to replace Jack Conklin, who left. He was an all-pro left tackle, really good, but there's no good offensive lineman at this point. So I don't have a pick for this team, honestly. So let's just keep going.
All right. Next up, we have the Packers. Sorry, I read G. Nothing.
Aaron Rodgers is in the twilight of his career right now. And what do you do to help out the best quarterback of all time in terms of towards the end of his career? You give him a good receiver. And that good receiver is Denzel Mims, who Drew said I was sleeping
on. I think you give him a wide receiver as well. But I have Jalen Rager, whatever his name is. It's a cool name. But from TCU. Yeah, there you go.
So Aaron Rodgers, the brittle, just got to double check. Aaron Rodgers needs someone to have his back. Someone to rise from the ashes and say, I'm your guy. This is Josh Jones from Houston.
Protect the quarterback. I don't know how loud that was, so I apologize if it was.
No, you're fine.
Enhance the sound, John Watson. Enhance the sound.
Will do.
6'5", 319, allowed 1 sack last year.
Mm-hmm.
Just one. Put him under Aaron Rodgers. Get a State Farm insurance on him. You're good.
All right. Next up, San Francisco.
You already replaced Emmanuel Sanders, who you traded away. Replace the other big name you traded away in this offseason, DeForest Buckner. So you replace him with Raekwon Davis, big dude on the interior, get the job done. Try to get back to a Super Bowl. I don't know if that's going to happen for them, but they're definitely going to try.
Yeah, I don't think they're getting back to the Super Bowl this year, but they will be helping themselves out at cornerback with Jeff Gladney out of TCU. He played basketball at New Boston High School. So there you go. He's good in my book.
We have some great explanations for these players. Our
Really
rationale for drafting these players, dude. We should be in the front offices of these NFL offices.
Hey, here's the choir. Sign him up.
There you go. All right, next up.
All right.
Did Drew get to go?
Yeah, he's going
to go.
He did.
I'm a huge wrestling fan. I love Booker T. His main saying was, "Can you dig it, sucker?" Enter Chiffon, "Can you digs it, sucker?" from Alabama, the senior cornerback. You add him to the 49ers defense, get picks galore. You're welcome, Zach.
All right.
I hate you.
And we are getting to the last pick of the draft. The Kansas City Chiefs select
Jalen Johnson, cornerback from Utah.
Okay.
He's feisty. He's got a good feel for the position. I think he's one of the safest picks, especially this late in the first round. He's got really good instincts. He had an amazing junior season, and I think the Chiefs need a secondary because their only really good player back there or two of them were Kendall Fuller and Juan Thornhill, who tore his ACL in the last game of the season. So Jalen Johnson will bolster that secondary and send the Chiefs back to the AFC Championship, where they'll lose to the Ravens.
I think you gotta have a good running back. You gotta have a young running back with a young quarterback. So I'm gonna go J.K. Dobbins from Ohio State. I think he's just gonna, he doesn't get flustered. In any situation, you can just run through all the guys and tear up defensive lines.
I have a hot take here, John Watson.
I want to.
J.K. Dobbins is Doug Martin 2.0.
Yeah, there you go. I love Doug Martin, even
I
though he
want to
kind of
argue that
did
pick.
PEDs. Why?
Because, first of all, the Chiefs don't need a running back to succeed. Are you kidding me?
Take some pressure off Pat Mahomes.
It would, but you don't. The Chiefs of all teams with that quarterback and those receivers, they do not need a running back in the first round, sir.
All right.
Keep
What's
going.
your pick, Drew McDonald?
Keep going.
So Rasheed Wallace once said, "The ball don't lie." Here we go with the Chiefs being Damon Arnett from Ohio State at cornerback. You had 35 tackles, 1 interception. Any Ohio State DB you're fine with. Look back in history. Denzel Ward, pretty good player. Kendall Sheffield, pretty good player. Well, kind of. Now, Damon Arnett, great player. That's my pick for the Chiefs. Get that secondary back in action.
All right.
That's the first round.
Yeah, that's the first round. If you
let's go through all the last 6 now.
You had me there.
Hang out for a second.
But yeah, that's our first round picks. Don't be here for the second round. We're not doing it.
There, you'll be waiting for a minute.
Yeah, you'll be waiting. But if you want to see our full list of the first round, anywhere, check UNFSpinnaker.com.
For the story.
As Jesus once said, we have over here. Wait, who's there?
I'm right here for me. I'm right here for me. Where you're pointing.
Zach's like right there.
Zach's there.
Drew's down here for me.
That's Drew.
This is John. This is Drew.
All right. We got Drew McDonald. What's your Twitter?
Twitter is RunDMC_912 like a G.
Yep. There you go. And Zach Yearwood.
ZYear27.
John W. Watson 76 for this mock draft. Bye-bye. Bye.